And right now we want to welcome in Coach Roy Hallenbeck from Millville. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Sully. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Pretty good, man. No problem. Always great talking baseball with the guy who's been around the block a time or two. And first, before we get into your team this year,
that's a nice way of saying I'm old, huh? Sully?
Right. Yeah, I was trying to be diplomatic about that.
I appreciate that.
Before we get into this year, tell me about your coaching staff and your boy Edwards has been with you for 20 years now, and kind of broke up the band a little bit 2 years ago when I'm sorry. Mike Edwards went over to Millville and then
went over to mainland. He was at Millville with us.
He was at
Millville.
Yeah.
He went to mainland.
Yep. It's early in the morning. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, me too. And Kenny Williams has been with us for the 21. Yep. That's it's kind of amazing. Mike was a big part of what we're doing here for a long time. Obviously, he had a great opportunity to get a lot closer to home and go back and coach a little bit more local. So, he's doing great down there. And, we've played them twice since he left. And, it's a lot of fun. It's kind of strange seeing him in the other dugout. But it's been a lot of fun competing against him the last couple of years. And, Kenny, we've been together for 21 years. That's a long time. We've been down a lot of road together. We finish each other's sentences and just like brothers or a marriage or whatever, it's like, we argue, we disagree, but at the end of the day, we see things eye to eye. And I'm fortunate. I know that there are other guys around there, but I know there aren't many guys that are fortunate enough to have an assistant for that long. And, we're pretty lucky here at Millville to have that.
What's that like, just having assistant coaches for that long? I mean, most head coaches don't last that long, let alone a head coach with an assistant coach. And Coach Edwards was there with you for, I guess, about 10 years, right? So you not a lot of turnover on that staff, and I guess that's probably a key to your success the last 20 years and why you guys are always so competitive is you have that continuity at the top.
Well, it has to be, a big factor. And the biggest benefit for me is that things just get handled differently. I don't, as the head coach, there are certain things that I don't even, it may sound bad, but I'm not even aware of. Kenny and when Mike was here, they're so good at the little fires that come up all the time. And sometimes I'll walk in on a conversation that he's having with a player or whatever, and it's kind of over when I walk in, and I just kind of look around. I'm like, anything I need to know about? And they're like, nope, we're good. Like, okay. And I trust them when Mike was here and Kenny's still being here. I trust them 100% with every bit of what we're doing. So if they tell me it's good, I believe them. It's good. And that takes so much off of my plate that it makes my job so much easier.
Now, Coach, when you first started, did you ever think you would get to the point where there's a certain level of expectations by the players when they step into the program? When you look at a guy like Ken Frank at Tazara South, been there for 30-some years, and when a kid walks into that program, they know what's expected from day one. You're seeing that now with guys like Billy Kern at Mainland. He's been there for 7-8 years now, so he's starting to get to that point where, okay, if you're a Mainland baseball player, this is what's expected of you every day, and you've had that for years now. What's that like for a coach when the players come in knowing what the program is as a whole and how they're expected to act on a day-to-day basis? You have that kind of equity built up.
Yeah, and I want to be clear before I even answer that question that did not start with me or Kenny. Jeff Trout was the head coach before I got here for multiple years, and before him it was Tony Cerise for 19, I believe. So there's only been 3 of us. I don't know what that math is, but it's been a long time. There's only been 3 of us. And my job when I took over in 1999, it was pretty clear that all I needed to do was just hold on to the wheel. It was already a tremendous program with high expectations and all those things. So nothing that is here has been created, by me or whatever. It's just anything positive is basically just me continuing what Tony Cerise and Jeff Trout did. But it does make it easy when kids come in. It's a big deal to them. Playing here is important to them. They grow up seeing us and wanting to be a part of it, and then it's fun to watch them come in and actually become a part of it and see what it really takes to be a member of what we're doing here. It's very rewarding and nice to see.
But by the same token, Coach, kids are different than they were in the 80s or 90s, and there's a lot of different distractions and that kind of thing. So do you find yourself on a year-to-year basis adjusting certain things that you do to kind of associate better with 16, 17-year-olds today now that you're in your 40s? Might have been different when you were in your late 20s, right?
Well, sure, and I've used this example a lot, and it's not a big deal. We don't, this is just an example, but Tony Cerise and Jeff Trout never had to have a cell phone policy,
right?
Just because, right? No, I mean, and that's
yeah.
There were no cell phones, right? So that's just something that comes up that we have to address. But see, the key for us is no matter what those little issues are, if Tony Cerise were to walk into our locker room this morning, or if Jeff Trout were to walk into our locker room this morning, they would see the same core values that they instilled and that they had. We have to address it with cell phones or with different things because it's a different time and kids are going through different things. But the core values and the expectations and all of those things are exactly the same. And that's what I think I'm most proud of is that those guys, I hope, can be really proud of what we're still producing here, for all their hard work when they were here.
If you're just joining us, we're talking with Roy Hallenbeck, head baseball coach at Millville High School. And Coach, it's kind of weird to think about now. It seems like only a couple years ago that Mike Trout was in high school at Millville. And, I remember talking to him after a playoff game his sophomore year, and he was, just a sophomore kid with, braces and stuff. And we saw he was a great athlete back then, but I don't know if I thought he would become a professional baseball player, but not on the level he's at now. What's it like now when you see 8-year-old kids walking around town in Mike Trout shirts and jerseys? It must be kind of surreal to think about, man, it was only a couple of years ago he was one of my players, right?
Yeah, that's been strange, and I don't know that that's ever going to go away, and honestly, I hope it never does. I don't ever want that to be something that we take for granted. I don't want to get used to it, I guess is the best way to say it. It's funny, though, like, even playing against opposing teams, I never saw the number 27 around before. It's
right.
kind of an odd number, especially in high school. High schools don't have a number 27. So my first thought immediately is when I see that, I'm like, oh, the favorite player is Mike, because why else would a kid around here be wearing number 27? Even if it's, at Vineland or Absegami or any of these other schools, he's had that kind of an impact. So, yeah, it's funny, the little reminders we'll get. We're in the middle of the game, I'm looking at a lineup, and number 27, I'll just have a little flash, like, oh, that's because of Mike. 10 years ago, nobody was wearing that number. So, it's great, and we never want to take that for granted. It's something that's really special, and, we're proud of the fact, and we're humbled by the fact that, we got to be the guys. We were just lucky. He came through here while we were here, and, can't really explain that other than just being fortunate.
Well, it just seems so strange to me because I think about when I was in high school and the professional players that I idolized, Lenny Dykstra and stuff like that, guys who I wanted to be like on the field. And just to think that the guy that these kids are idolizing, his former teammates are only like 25, 26 years old. So it's not that long ago they were in high school.
No, I know, and they're still around. It's great. They stop in every once in a while, or we'll see them at weddings and things. So it's a lot of fun to see how that has all evolved in this area with the people. A lot of those guys are still around, so it's great.
This might be an odd question, Coach, but how often do you get contacted by major news outlets and things like that, ESPN or whatever, to talk about Mike? I know every once in a while there's kind of a new feature pops up on him and what kind of man he's become and how great he is with the community and kids and all that stuff. So I'm sure every once in a while you get a phone call like, hey, this is so-and-so from USA Today or ESPN. It must be kind of strange to be fielding those kind of calls on a regular basis.
Yeah, it is. It happens a lot, and it's kind of funny. Like we joke as a staff, I feel proud and kind of cocky about it if they were actually calling to talk about me, but they're not. They're calling because I'm the guy that knows Mike. So it's kind of humbling in that regard. But it is really neat. I have to be honest. We're all baseball fans first. I mean, I've been following and watching the games since I was a kid. So when I get a chance to talk to some of these people that I watch on TV, it's surreal. It's like I can't even imagine, how that happened. How is a guy like me talking to certain, I don't want to, drop names, but how does that even happen? So I just sit back and I shake my head and just, it's fortunate that we were here and we're kind of along for the ride now. And, it's just it's a thrill for me as a baseball fan to be involved on this level. And, never going to take that for granted.
So, Coach, when's Mike going to start having some kids, man? That'll be some great bloodlines for that kid. His wife, Jessica, a lot of people don't realize this. She was a great athlete at Millville, too.
Oh, yes, she was. She played in college, too. So she's,
yep.
Their whole family's athletic, her side of the family and his side, a lot of athletes there. So, yeah, somebody's going to reap the benefits of those kids coming through somewhere.
So, Coach, tell me a little bit about this season. Obviously, you guys have another great year, 13-5 right now. You're heading into the state playoffs on Monday. Kevin Minnick, we're going to have him on later in the show. He just tweeted out yesterday, Clearview is not the team you want to be playing right now. They're hot, but
I saw that. Yeah, it was funny. Like we got that.
And you're probably thinking, hey, what about Millville? We're playing well too.
No, you know what? I don't think that way. My first thought was my assistant Kenny. He texted me a screenshot of that like as soon as the game was over, and I just put my head down and shook my head. And my first thought was, of course, that's who we got coming in. A really good program, well coached. I mean, I've seen them. They're strong up and down the lineup. I mean, there's not a whole lot of holes in that team. So. I'm confident in what we are, but just like any other year with the playoffs, we're going to have to play well to beat them. If you don't play well, you're going to be out quickly. So, we're ready to clean some things up here this morning in practice and get at them on Monday.
Coach, real quick, before we let you go, what's it going to take to make a deep run in the playoffs? I mean, this section's kind of wide open when you think about it. I mean, even Shawnee as the number 1 seed, they have a real tough opener against 16-seeded Egg Harbor Township, which is better than your average 16 seed. I mean, they have 4 or 5 Division I players on that team, so really kind of anybody's ball game once things get started on Monday.
Yeah, I'm biased, and I'll put this out here. I know that I'm saying this with a ton of bias, but I believe, based on my experience, that Group 4 baseball in South Jersey, that section, I would put that up against any sport, any section, in any region of the state as far as how difficult it is to win a championship because of what you just said. Look at who our 15 and 16 seeds are. It's Egg Harbor Township and Cherokee. That's 15 and 16. That just tells you what the field is like. So, every year we've won it once and we went to the finals another time. And the two things that were consistent in both those years, it wasn't necessarily that we were the best team. We played well to get there. So you have to play mistake-free baseball. So, on Monday, when Clearview comes in here, whichever team plays better, whichever team fields the ball and throws strikes, all those things that we've been working on since March, whichever team executes those things better is going to advance. And then the same thing's going to happen as we continue through the rounds. So, it really does come down to how you play that day and how you control your emotions and how you execute. Because the margin for error is so small when you're playing teams this good.
I got to believe, Coach, even 21 years in, there's a lot of juice right before a state playoff game. So Monday, you're still going to have those kind of pregame butterflies, right?
Oh, I can't wait. I love it. Like I said, we went and scouted them the other day, and Coach Rowe does a great job up there, and I know what they're going to come in and be. And, I'm hoping for good weather, great atmosphere, good crowd, and a great game, and hopefully we find a way to win it at the end in advance.
Great stuff as always, Coach. We're up against a break. Got to let you go, but I appreciate you taking some time this morning, and hopefully we'll catch up with you down the road somewhere, and good luck in the state playoffs.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. Thanks, Coach.